Yeah, as if we're taking off.
Going live in five, four, three, two, and I think we are live.
Are we live? Have we done it?
Have we done it? We live? We live? Give us a shout out. Give us a shout out if anyone can see us live right now. Do you know what I should have done? I should have cross posted to your page.
Oh yeah.
It's a bit. I don't know if I can. Oh, I think I. It might be a little bit. It might be a little bit tricky to cross post it now.
Yeah, probably just add difficulties when you start trying to do tech live.
Should we? Let's just figure it out live. Let's just spend the next half an hour. Forget doing an interview together. We'll just try and figure out how we can cross post it.
Yeah, that's it.
We got a few people in. Give us a shout out. Give us a shout out. Anyone? Do get on the share, Harvey, if you can.
Yeah, I'm doing it now.
And I'll do one of my little intros just before we get going. So hello and welcome to another edition of Overviewed, a series in which I interview a member of the drum and bass community, a member of the extended Overview family. And with me this evening, I have a very special guest, fresh off the back of his debut EP on Overview, which is currently sitting at number 2 in the release charts right now. We have a producer who's been steadily on the rise for a number of years. He is straight out of the drum and bass capital of the world, aka Bristol. Without further ado, welcome, Harvey Creatures.
Easy Pete.
Congo's Wild.
You need to get some canned laughter and claps and stuff like on the button so you can do that.
Yeah. I get a little like what they call it, like a sampler or like a live
Yeah.
like doo, doo, doo.
Yeah. You could just use Ableton or something like that and just do it from there. Or get, like you say, a little sample.
I mean, you are talking to me who has
Yeah,
got no
that's true.
idea with that kind of stuff. I mean, if someone wants to help me set it up so we could get it, that would be good. A little bit cam laughter, maybe some air horns.
Yeah.
We need to get Skibber like barking, like
Yeah.
the usual. So how you doing, my friend? How are you today?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. I'm not too bad. Yeah, I'm just super excited after the announcement. It's all just so it almost feels like we're in the real world again. I don't know. So just constantly in a good mood at the moment.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's been a bit of a surreal few days, I think, since getting that announcement, and then everything kind of starting to go back again. Like you're saying, a lot of positive kind of lot of positive things. You're just saying that you've got a few bookings in already.
Yeah, they're coming in. It's exciting. We've obviously done the ones ourselves. Me and Jesse have set something up where we're going to do a couple of sit-down events in Bristol, which is going to be exciting. Just so I could say I had a gig first of all, basically. But
when is that? When is that for the audience? Might as well give it a little plug. So you're actually doing a collab night with 00.
Yeah. So we're doing a collab night called Bosch because we kind of organised it in quite a quick amount of time. So we called it Bosch because we boshed it out. But yeah, it's going to be May the 3rd at Dare 2 Club in Bristol. So yeah.
I may have already got tickets for it as well. So
yeah, that would be good.
Even
if it's just us lot, mate.
There'll just be 2 tables of the Overview Discord and a few of the label regulars. No, to be fair, I'm pretty confident that we've got a really good lineup for that. So I'm pretty confident you guys are gonna like sell it out. And I'm keen. I'm coming all the way from Brighton just to like support. But I don't know. It was just that thing of like, you guys are, someone's actually doing a night for the first time, like a load of good people back for it. So
yeah, no, it's going to be good. Obviously the lineup's secret at the moment. I think we're going to announce it next Monday. So
you're playing though.
Yeah. Yeah, obviously. Yeah. I think I think you might even see me on both sessions back to back with Jesse, just as kind of a residence thing, just for across every single set, just for a bit of fun. So
that's a little bit of exclusive information right there.
super exclusive.
Super exclusive.
You have to pay me 50 quid now.
Well, no, you have to pay me because I've just plugged your event. I've just advertised.
Yeah,
I've just advertised
true.
your event. So if anything, you need to be paying me right now.
I'll send you some stars.
Yeah, please. If anyone can send me some stars, please do send me some stars. I've never quite actually got what sending stars actually even does. What even?
I don't know.
I don't know. I just see it.
I think it's monetary value, but I'm not sure quite how much. But
0.00p.
Probably, yeah.
So yeah, have you got any others that you can tell us about? Any other gigs that you've got for sure, or is it all a little bit under lock and key at the moment?
So there's rebel stuff coming. Just waiting on finalised dates, basically, and stuff like that. There's a few more, but it's all, to be honest with you, it's all speculative. I want to say even the ones that are confirmed, they're still speculative because we've got to progress as a country before they come. But staying positive. I can't announce any others, but there's a few other cool ones in there.
No, I think you're right. I know what you mean. Like it is, it's difficult not to get sort of carried away because it does sort of definitely feel like there's much more kind of, obviously there's dates and it's definitely come around a lot sooner than I think we're all really expecting. Like, I don't know about you, but I thought this was going to be going on until like next year. Like events weren't going to be back until like 2022 or whatever. Like kind of preparing for that.
I was in the same sort of place, but I did think that we would see the sit down stuff come back. But to be honest, as I started a new sort of job in January, just being honest, up until about 2 days ago, I didn't really realise, until sort of the announcement and maybe a week before that, I didn't really realise what was going on because I just set up new job, everything's brand new, it's quite exciting. You
didn't watch the news then. You weren't watching BBC News.
Nah, because I was like, because during the sort of lockdown last time, I was in a bit of a sticky situation. I set up loads of things to kind of bring in revenue and also give back a little bit to the music community. So I've got a Patreon and sort of was doing teaching and stuff like that. But booking so much of it before, booking it before, kind of booking some of that in before sort of Christmas and stuff like that and the schedule, and then going back into full-time work. Sometimes I have 5, 6, 90-minute lessons a week, as well as then having to deliver a tune, a sample pack, do a weekly feedback session with all my Patreons, play games as well.
You actually have time to like do anything else other than all this?
Yeah, so it's just, I ended up in a bit of a situation where I was just like really like just constantly going 100% of the time. Just started sharing a studio with Hayden Brevin as well. So to get into a proper studio as well, the time just disappears. It's like a vortex. So you go there, do some work, and on the weekends I go in there for a full day, and then it's Tuesday, and you're getting shouted at because you didn't go to work. And then, but yeah, so it was all so like systems go. I didn't really realise what was going on, and then it all just, people were just like, it looks like we're coming out of lockdown, and I was like, oh yeah, the lockdown.
The lockdown. I forgot about
like, that stuff's going on. I just kind of become a bit of a hermit living inside. I mean,
I that was something I kind of wanted to touch on actually, because I think that when I talk to a lot of people about you as your name gets brought up, people are like Creatures' work rate and like how many releases. I think especially over the last like year or two, you know, you've been so consistent. So yeah, I mean consistent and just like, you know, plowing it out. Whereas I think some people look at that and go, how does he do it? I mean, that is maybe a little bit of a question. I mean, what is there a secret formula or is there something, you know, any advice that you'd have, or how do you think that you have managed to kind of do that as a producer?
I was having loads of fun, and I took all of the competition element like out of it, or pressure out of it. It's probably better to say because it's not sport. But like, and just kind of enjoyed writing all of these tunes. Lots of them were sketches that I probably write 5 or 6 sketches in a day. And the way that I was writing, and because I don't know, the way I was doing things, I was just writing so much music. There was no point in just getting rid of it. Like it would have just been sat on and been like, I would have had to do a lost tapes EP when I was like 40 and it would have had like 250 tunes. There's no point. And it was just like, let's just start sending some of these tunes out and seeing what happens with them, and started getting them out there. I now am at a stage where I was sticking to a formula then, not like per se, but I wouldn't necessarily push my boundaries as much. I knew what I could do and what I could deliver. Whereas like the Gonzo Transmission EP is one of the first bits of music I feel that in the last few years I've stepped out of my comfort zone and written like more music, which has taken a lot more time, as you know. It's taken a little while compared to what I do kind of normally do, and stuff like that. So it's been a bit more of an onerous on quality over quantity, and actually trying to not just do, oh, that's a Creatures tune. It's to actually push myself and write music that maybe you don't necessarily associate with me, but I enjoy writing. But yeah, it's great fun. And when you start smashing out certain things, and you know, I do have a method, and it's always been arrangement is the most important thing. So if you're looking for a tip or a sort of thing out of that, I'd say write with samples until you're 100% confident in writing a full tune really quick, like not really quickly, but you know what you're doing. And like have separate sessions, one sound design, and this is what I've always done. And I've got a folder that's probably 7-8 years old called Creatures Brutal Bracing Shit. And it's got like 2,500 bass lines and stuff in it. Some of them will come out in tunes now. And I made the bass 8 years ago. But it's just like, because all I care about is tones that come out of the sounds, because then you process it, and using Ableton's like clip editor, you can really make some amazing sounds. Not that you know what I'm going on about, but
a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. But
people on the stream do.
Yeah. So like that, the clip editor and what you can do to like change sounds and everything. Once you've got a nice tone and all these crazy plugins you can buy, you can do whatever you want. So I just find that like everything's in the right key. Find the keys that you need from the bases that I've already made, and the project will just basically be all samples, no serum, none of that stuff, and it's all stuff that I've made or resampled and come from there really. So it's kind of an organic process that grows quite quickly from the drums into a full track when you've got all of the sounds there. So that might be the reason why. But
good tip there. Good tip. Anyone wants to keep hold of your sounds, I guess that is the one. Yeah. But obviously you said that obviously this the Gonzo Transmission EP kind of, I mean how long do you think that has been in the works now? I mean that was the longest that you've taken to write an EP, would you say, out of everything?
I think so. I think solo, because obviously when Creatures was 3 of us previously, it was a completely different story, because like there's a tune rewrite called Transmutation, which I think took us about 2.5 years to mix down. We made the tune in like a week, but to get the mix down,
I did nothing else for 2.5 years.
Really crap. Yeah, and now it's like, why did I waste my time doing that? But so that. But solo wise, definitely. And I think like some of the tunes are a lot older than maybe I even can remember as well, because like the original project that I sent to both Wings and Rizzle were very old. Yeah. So like then when they got sent them, I think Wings sat on the tune for about a year before he even touched it. Actually, no, I think he had a go and then sent it back. And then, yeah, I think it then just took a long time from that point to kind of, I don't know, just get it right. It was just one of those tunes. It's such a techie tune. And I don't know, it's so dark that we had to kind of get it right. There was, if you listen to previous versions like you did, the final product is a lot more polished and actually quite a lot more technical, I think, than some of the older versions. And it took a little bit of a while to kind of decide that was the direction that the tune needed to go in. Whereas some of the others, like Gonzo Transmission, kind of come together quite quickly. Just because Joe's amazing. His vocals are so good. And it's just, and when it comes to vocal tunes,
big up Joe Reagan.
Big up the Ray gun. But I think just when it comes to like vocal tunes, it's just a vocal sub and drums. Like mainly that's the main elements you need to focus on. And once you've got that rolling, the tune writes itself really. So that was kind of standard how I'd write a tune. But yeah, it was just the one with Hadley, we had some issues with it, but that was, I think, because of Zoom, which is quite funny.
Because of Zoom? You tried to write it in Zoom together?
We did write it in Zoom together, the whole tune.
Right. The whole tune in Zoom? A Zoom tune.
Yeah,
Well, that's
it's a
what you can
Zoom
do
tune.
nowadays. But I'm guessing that the audio, you couldn't
The
hear the
audio
audio
quality.
properly. Like,
Yeah. So we like sent it for pre-master and it come back and the sub was like really changing in different volumes. And we were like, oh, we should probably check it outside of Zoom. It's like, yeah, we definitely should have done that before we tried to send the pre-masters off. But yeah, it's an oversight now, isn't it? Really, but yeah,
I guess that I mean, even being able to make music over Zoom, I mean,
yeah.
that's going to come with issues or whatever, because that's still quite a new kind of way of being able to produce, I guess. Have you only been doing that this year, or have you done that before, or is that literally like
I'd never
something
done it
very new?
before. But it's brilliant. I mean, I have to use a third party or like secondary plugin alongside it so I
Mm,
can upgrade audio quality because of that moment, basically. So when I teach over Zoom, so when I'm teaching,
okay.
it's on that, and then I use something called Audio Movers, which upgrades the quality to 320 MP3,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then yeah, but it just yeah, it's brilliant. It's really really good. In fact, I actually think it's better than maybe sitting next to someone because you end up getting pissed or like just chatting a load of crap because you haven't seen each other in ages. You don't actually agree on stuff, so you start changing each other's things. You like all these different things that are happening, and when you're still sat here, like in the studio space, focused, working, but you've got someone else in the top corner, they can't actually touch anything, but they can advise. And then when it's their go, it's your turn to it, and it kind of you take a different position on what you're doing, and I actually
Mm,
find it really useful. So
right.
yeah, it's quite good to be
No,
fair.
it's interesting to hear that that's obviously something that is obviously now starting to happen. I know clinical and ways for framed. I think that they kind of finished that off on a on a Zoom session, and I remember they said that they had
Yeah,
like loads of fun doing it. And like you're saying, it's quite funny that you have those issues when you do meet up in the studio, which obviously get taken
yeah,
away. There's maybe a bit more discipline when you're doing it in this way.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
100%. I mean, me and Objective have been trying to write a tune with each other for about 2 years. And the only tune that we like, and every time we go and see each other, it's not even that. We just end up chatting loads of crap. We get some drums done, and then it just doesn't work.
And
And
then you crack a couple of beers open,
and then
and
that's
then
it.
you're
I sat
away.
downstairs playing Monopoly or whatever. You're like, ah. But the only tune that we have wrote together was the first tune that we ever wrote together, where we just sent each other stems, and it worked. And it's because what he'd done, I liked. He sent
Mm,
it to me, I worked on it, I sent it back, and then we did a final mix down, and it was as simple as that. But yeah, I don't know. But at the same time, I used to have three of us in a studio when it was Creatures, and you'd have 20-minute hot seats. You had 20 minutes, whack the timer on, and then you had to get out. Sometimes you just literally do a kick for 20 minutes and move. So,
I'm gonna ask you actually. That is because someone else, Yano actually said, "Damn, he said I never knew Creatures was three people." So could you tell me like a little bit of the history of Creatures? Hopefully, it's not like too controversial
no, no, it's fine.
or anything like.
No, no.
So tell me a little bit of the history of Creatures then, how it came to be, and how you ended up obviously being solo today.
So basically, we all went to the same college, and Jake was a very good friend of one of my friends, Beth, and we basically met in the park one day and made a tune called Goliath, which was like I'd literally been making tunes for like 6 months. I had no idea what I was doing, but it actually ended up getting played on like a BBC Radio One introducing thing or something like that. And it's like, oh
Cool.
my god!
We're
But
gonna be famous.
we're going to be famous with a new noisier. That's
With the
what we used
Bristol
to always
Noisier.
think. Yeah. Oh god.
What
But
year? So what year was this? What year was this?
uh, 2012 maybe.
Okay, yeah. Wow, right. Okay.
Maybe no, it must be later than that. 2013, 2014.
Still, yeah, a little
Like
while
yeah,
away.
like 2012 to 2015 sort of time. And basically, yeah, so Jake was the 2 years above me. Then we started making tunes, and we heard about this guy on the year above us called, he was nicknamed like Ben, but they called him the Wizard for some reason, just because he made really, really cool bass. So we kind of started talking to him, and we all got on really well, and then just started making a couple of tunes together. And the name of Creatures came when me and Jake were drinking, and we had a bottle of beer, and we had a hobgoblin, and we had another one that was called Goliath, hence the tune name. And then when we called the tune Goliath, we decided that we called ourselves Creatures and that every tune would be named after a creature. And that was kind of the original concept. So if you go and check the old tunes, they're called like Cerberus and Hades and, you know, Leviathan and all of that kind of stuff, you know?
Right.
That was where it all come from. So it's just me and Jake to begin with. And then we got Ben involved. And basically we had an exclusivity deal with a record label, which had a lot of deadlines and things like that, which the other two weren't up for. Me being the kind of salesperson I am, I liked to push myself that way and work towards deadlines. It actually gave me a reason to work. But it kind of just started just pulling and tearing people apart, because it was just like, look, this needs to be done by this date, that needs to be done by that date, and that needs to be done by then. And it just wasn't happening. And I was trying to organize it and whatever. And basically, then Ben moved away to Amsterdam to go and live with a family member, and that was basically it for Ben. He kind of just took a back seat. We used a load of his sounds for the time. So we kept him as a member of Creatures because we were still utilizing a lot of his bass design and stuff like that. And then eventually Jake and I just kind of started not working together as well, both being really busy with real life. I think we kind of got to that age that I wasn't able to, I mean, I didn't, you know, I won't go too deep into it, but I lived on my own from quite a young age.
Right.
And I had a lot of support when I was really young from, you know, because I was at college, but the second that finished, I was expected to pay sort of extortionate amount of money to be in, to cover the kind of supported accommodation costs, because not only do you pay for the property, but you pay for the support workers, all of the outings, the foods, all of this stuff, the security and whatnot. So it started to become really expensive. So yeah, just life got in the way and just had to move. So I moved to Essex to set up a business with someone after doing quite well in my job and everything.
What was this business in? What are you going to do?
I used to sell $2,500 vacuum cleaners door to door. So yeah.
Wow, really? Damn.
Yeah, okay. I was very good at it. So I basically got to the level that I got to go to Essex and be a sort of associate director of a business, basically.
Crikey.
Long story short, the guy ran off with a lot of money, and I ended up moving into my dad's and living on his sofa about 6 months later. But
the dream was snatched away.
It got taken away, but I realised a lot of stuff then, and then that's basically when there was no Creatures. They'd been going for about a year, like 6 months to a year, no real releases or anything. And I think I reached out to you and Felix. I was going to say he who must not be named, but I was like, just don't say that. Just say his name. But and just started having a chat and sent you some of my first solo stuff, and then we worked together for that label. Which was
that label, that shout, yeah. Was that so? That was your first kind of few releases then? I mean, had you released elsewhere before or not?
There was a couple of little bits and bobs that were happening around on sort of VAs and stuff at the time, but my first proper release that was just me was with you, or was the Zulu EP.
Damn, I'm not sure that I actually totally.
No, I didn't tell you.
No,
I was running the back of my other releases, telling you that they were my tunes, so you'd take me on, and it worked. so
that's what you got to do. Big up yourself. Damn, yeah. Because obviously, that was obviously not to go like too deep into it, but obviously that was the last release I essentially worked on. I think when I was there. But yeah, I think maybe I did know that was your like first full release, because it was actually it was Jay. Big up to Jay Myth.
Yeah, big up Jay for that.
He was on my case. I remember he like messaged me through one day. He was like, mate, like you need to sign these bits. Like, come on, sort it out. And I was like, all right, well, if Jay's giving you a tip, you listen. And that was the Zulu EP, which was, that was two and a bit, about two maybe coming up 3 years ago now.
Probably 3 years ago, yeah.
And then obviously,
but you know what? It was going to be on the VA, on the introducers VA, on the like newcomers thing that you were doing.
Yeah.
And Jay phoned you to say no.
That was it. That was it as well. Yeah.
It's quite funny because yeah, without him, I don't think we'd be sat here today, really, which is an odd
Maybe
thing to
not.
look
I
at.
mean, you never know. I think with your, with obviously like your work rate and obviously
Mm.
everything you've done, you never know. I mean, obviously it has done, and then obviously you've gone on to like work with a lot of labels now. Really, you've sort of
Yeah,
been, there's not too many. Well, there's definitely been quite a few. Who
yeah.
else?
I
Who
mean,
else would you want to big up?
I don't know. I really enjoyed working with Flex Out. I really enjoyed the Dispatch EP. Um, I'd like to do some more stuff for CIA in the future. That was great. You know,
Yeah,
Echo, a great label to, or Echo. They're great.
yeah,
It is
yeah.
Echo. It's just
Eku.
like
It's
Echo,
Eku.
Echo.
I always thought it was Eku. Is it not?
Yeah, I asked him and he was like, no, it's just Echo. Um, so yeah, but they've got a lot of cool stuff happening. Obviously, Rebel Ben's like been really, really helpful for a number of things for me as an artist and as a person. So got a big up to the greener.
Big up Ben. Big up the Obi-Wan. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I forget he's an artist as well. Isn't
He does release music as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's it's been cool to see see your progression. And obviously, we did like do a couple of bits with yourself and Ovi. Obviously, you're on like Zone One. You had the collaboration with Hadley and Ways as well, which that was a really really big tune. And then now like to obviously now to do this, like to do your like full kind of debut, it's sort of definitely felt like the kind of like a natural progression kind of things going full circle, I guess, in a way.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, you
then,
know what? I wanted it to happen a lot earlier, but I think if it had of, it wouldn't have happened the right way. And that's me being super honest. But yeah, I when things kind of started moving across, like changing with what was going on a few years ago, there was a sticky situation a few people got caught in, and I tried to work out what the best thing to do personally and whatever was, and I don't know. I think obviously we won't talk about it, but it was just it was strange to be, just some of those artists, it was a strange time. So
no, it was, it was.
I think if we'd worked together then, I don't think I was necessarily in the same sort of headspace, and also musically, I think this EP I did really push to write, the best music I'd done and something that was a bit different and work with some of the best people in the game, and yeah.
And now it's already sitting up to number 2 on the charts.
Yeah, which is amazing. I can't believe that. Little old me, number 2.
Is your highest charting release so far? Is it well?
Yeah.
No, I mean it's been I kind of had a feeling like it do well, but yeah, I mean it's just like jumped straight in, and people have really it's had a really great response already. It's just for me like honestly, it really does kind of encapsulate a very kind of overview kind of sound and a vibe. Like some of those tracks are just so kind of what we're known for in a way. Like it is it's good music for DJs. Do you know what I mean? There's no I think that's obviously a big a big factor as well, but yeah, even just like the quality level, like you're saying, like if you're sort of sitting there going, I think this is some of the best stuff that I've written, then that's usually a good a good sign. If you're sort of proud of it. Have you got a favorite off the release?
It keeps changing, if I'm being honest. And I think it will change again when I'm allowed to play them super loud. And I think it's going to be Who Knows, just because off the system, I think it's going to Who. But I just love Joe's vocals at the moment. I can't, and mixing Gonzo Transmission is great fun because you can drop his vocal over the top of other tunes, and it's just got the drums, so it rolls quite nicely with other tunes. And it's probably the one that I've noticed in a couple of other people's mixes and been, oh, that's a sick mix with my tune. Like, it gets me excited to hear that. And I don't, to be honest, I don't normally, without sounding like a knob, get excited over doubles and stuff like that. It's normally just like the tunes and the production quality that I'm more sort of listening out for. But it's nice to kind of get a little bit of like, oh, that's cool. That sounds really good. So,
I think that's always a sign of a fucking like a future classic or a track that really stands up is how well it does mix with things. If you can just like find so many doubles with it. And I think,
Yeah.
I do think Gonzo Transmission definitely is, definitely is one of those, which is, really, really cool. I mean, I found a good double with it, which was, I think I did tell you about I did a mix with Hieroglyphics and Sustenance.
Yeah.
One of the other overview tunes. It's just power. I can't wait to like finally hear tunes on a system as well. Actually, like hearing some of this stuff. How have you found? How have you been like finding releasing during lockdown, and like has it kind of affected your writing? I mean, what have you kind of done to push through it? I mean, is there anything there?
So I know everyone had a pretty bad time, but I lost 3 family members to COVID last year, so it was a pretty deep one.
For real, really, fuck.
Yeah. So it was pretty hard, and I couldn't write dark music anyway because of the whole sort of lockdown situation and everything like that. But as we basically, I can write emotion. If that makes sense, when I'm feeling sad, I can write that. If I'm angry, I could probably write a metal tune. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's just the way that things work. Yeah. So I ended up writing a pretty, deep EP, which I might send you afterwards, actually, which is just liquid for intrigue. But just that's what my kind of. It really helps.
So this was at the time all this stuff happened. That this EP is like the channel of that emotion, because I mean, I'm not gonna lie, that sounds like a really kind of traumatic experience to go through.
Well, we live and we move on, don't we? There's no point. I'm 24. I can't let myself fall down. You've got to crack on with life, and it's hard, but so are so many things in life, and you've just got to work through them. And the support network in not only just my family and friends, but all of you lot and everyone in the drum and bass scene and everyone that's around. Like, for me, I'm all good, mate. So don't worry about that. But with the music side of things, I really did at that time. I think I had a few of the breaks and the drums and stuff ready because I just couldn't write any like minimal stuff anyway. I just can't. Until I got the studio, which then things changed because I had a completely different type of inspiration. But so with that, I then wrote that sort of EP. Got a tune with Colette and Collective on there.
Cool.
And the rest is just me, basically, just really pouring my heart out in a way that's a bit different than normal, But it really, really heals me as a person to listen to the music. It makes me feel good. It makes me feel better, and it makes me know that I've kind of dealt with that. If that makes sense. I know it's a bit odd, but I don't know.
No, I think
like that.
put into having some real thought and emotion behind something. Like, it's one of the great things, obviously, being able to be a creative or be involved in music, and be able to channel some of these frustrations and have an avenue, have an outlet for when things aren't so good, that you can actually do something with your time and not get so then wrapped up or whatever. And especially with going through obviously the how difficult it has been. I mean, so people, it seems to be that people have gone one or two ways. Some people obviously kind of embraced it, or embrace is maybe not the right word, but used the opportunity to push through and some haven't, but it certainly seems like you have, especially, how much you've kind of done, in this last year.
Well, look, I just thought whilst I'm inside, let's do it. Like, there's not ever going to be another point in my whole entire life I'm going to be sat in here and no one's going to shout at me for it. Like, literally, that's it. Like, I'm going to get shouted at more for trying to go out than I am for staying in and doing this. So let's just do this. And, unfortunately, I did lose my job at the very start of lockdown. I think it was like July time, something like that.
Yeah, I think
it was crap. But at the same time, I had loads of time on my hands. And with the amount of support that was going around from family and people like that, and also kind of jumping straight on the Patreon and doing it when I needed to, with the lessons and everything. And, you know, you'd be surprised at how much people want to help you as well as an artist. Like, it's amazing. I love every single person out there that supported me in any form of way in particularly the last year, because it's actually like I've lived off of that, like really, like genuinely, you know. And to ever think that just like, you know, making tunes and having a bit of fun and doing all of that kind of stuff, when you get to the serious levels, that will eventually start paying for you, you know, that's crazy. But normally it's always been alongside work, so it's just been bonus and extra bits of this, that and the other. But for it to literally make me survive, I was amazed. So, you know, thanks to everyone that helped during that period. But yeah,
so obviously, so you said you have got the Patreon set up. How long have you been running that now? Is that like that's been going, like you said, that's been going really well? You've got quite a lot of people signed up now.
Yeah, I think that I'm about 70 now.
Okay, wicked.
Somewhere around that mark. But it seems to be weird because it says 80. It's just I'm still trying to work out how the thing works, mate. I don't really know. But yeah, it's good. I'm enjoying it. I set it up in November. And I have a listener and a producer tier. That's what they're called.
A tier.
And then that's it. But essentially, the lessons that I offer and teaching is slightly different. It's just alongside.
What's been like the biggest challenge you've felt with Patreon so far?
The biggest challenge I've felt with Patreon so far.
I have just dropped a link, by the way. If anyone does want to have a little look, see what it is, give go support Creatures.
I don't know. I mean, I really enjoy it. I think the point in mine is more of a community-based thing. It's not about me telling you exactly how to make this or exactly how to make that. It's advice and discussion. Obviously, there's videos on how I do things and how I go about things, but no one should ever really tell anyone how they should or shouldn't do anything, because there's a million different ways of doing it. So it's about focusing on that stuff. So some of the challenges, I'd say, are some people do just want to learn how to make a foghorn or how to make a this bass and how to do this. And, you know, that's not how I produce. I'm an experimental producer I'll have 64 bars of one long note and I'll just modulate, and that's how I make my basses, and that's how I do all of that kind of stuff. So it's a different type of thing. But other than some of the direct questions, people asking for more dubs, which I think you might have had. That happens sometimes. Which it's kind of set out what I'm going to deliver. That's what I'm delivering. You know,
what do you tend to deliver every month? Then if someone was to sign up to Creatures Patreon today, what could they expect?
So if you were to sign up today, you've got access I do it in quarters, so January to March, etc., etc. Okay. So the content stays up for 3 months. Basically, so people have a chance to go back and get some of the stuff that's there previously. But to be honest with you, the main focus is on the samples, tutorials, and the same stuff that everyone else has got. You know, that, like, just being honest, like that's what that stuff is. But the main focus, like I say, is on the Dub Wars competition. So I do a monthly Dub Wars competition where I provide samples. You've got to use all the samples and create a 3-minute tune and hand it in. And the winner has a chance of featuring on the Lost the Plot Introducer series. So that's a pretty cool thing, which a lot of the guys seem to like. There's a mixed competition to feature on the Creatures Comforts podcast every month as well, which eventually, as things start growing and start moving backwards, I'll hopefully be able to invite people down to the studio to come and actually have a mix with me and stuff like that. But we just can't because of the restrictions at the moment. Yeah. And then every Thursday at 8 o'clock, I do an hour-long feedback session and play some of my own dubs and some of my forthcoming music and stuff that I'm working on. And about as many of us as possible get into a little Discord server and just talk through everyone's music, have some chats and stuff like that, and go through that sort of stuff. And then presets and everything like that. But I mean, you know, Discord and all of this stuff, you can say that you do everything different, but when it comes to samples and stuff, you sign up to Creatures to get samples that are dark minimal Creatures samples, and it's the same as when you buy anyone's sample packs and stuff. But I'd say the important stuff for mine is more about the community. The guys are brilliant. You know, they all talk to each other all day and help each other out with a number of things. And I think, when we do the private COD lobbies and stuff, people join me, people make their own teams and everything like that. But it's just about being interactive. And,
yeah,
yeah,
well, like you're saying, you got to, I mean, that is the biggest thing, isn't it? Like being interactive. Put what you put into it, you get out of it.
Exactly that. Yeah.
And it's good to see. It's good to see you jumping on it, because, I mean, there obviously are quite a lot of patrons, up now, and obviously it is becoming more of a prevalent thing. But I know some people obviously are still kind of not jumping on it. There maybe some people a bit worried about it being saturated, or being able to, worrying about being able to deliver the content each month or whatever. But I personally think that, if you are a producer, I think it's the future, really, in terms of. Would you agree? Would you agree with that it is, or do you think that you would have to be a certain kind of person to do it? Or
I'd suggest that anyone can start it, because the person who's got the most amount of followers on Patreon in the whole world earns about 175 grand a month from Patreon, and all he does is interview people. So he doesn't have any skill or any, particular.
He's got interview skills.
Owners.
That's a skill. Come on, look,
no.
Come on.
He's got real good journalism skills. I'm not taking that away, but any artistic skill. There's no actual content that you can take away and learn from.
Right.
They just watch videos.
Who's that?
So,
Who's that?
I can't remember the guy's name.
He's just a YouTuber,
he might
or
not
something.
even be number one. It's like top 3 now. But when I was last looking at it, the top one was something like that. Number 2 was makeup and cosmetics, and number 3 was like literature stuff and people learning how to read and write and stuff. So like it's just really interesting that the people are actually making money for a number of things. If you want to set up and make it an artist Patreon, the point in doing that is that people want to be a part of your community, or a label Patreon is to be a part of that label. But it doesn't mean that if you're a really strong producer with 10 years experience behind you, and you know how to go and design all of these crazy basses and how to do compression processing and all of these different types of things that you want to explain to people, you could set up a drum and bass tutorial Patreon and call it whatever it is and stuff. This is what I'm not seeing enough of. It's just like, not that I'm doing it, because I didn't think of it at the time, but like the idea of just doing something that's actually more focused around the content rather than just you as an artist, I think could potentially really help push this in other directions. And it doesn't all just have to be about drum and bass. If you just did a production Patreon for beginners that had like a 5-step video course on that they got one every month or whatever, the amount of people that I know that would get recommended to sign up for that are non-D&B producers and outside of this, that I think a lot of us are missing the market for, because your market cap's probably a lot lower because you're just specifically looking at drum and bass producers.
Yeah.
But it's a bit off topic. But anyway, Patreon's amazing.
By the way, Patreon's great. I was just actually looking at, like, there is a guy here that's got 30,000 Patreons.
There you
go, 30,000 patrons. There are a couple of guys in D&B that are like, have got like 500 plus patrons, and and I think that going forward, I think that I just can't see how it isn't. I don't know. It's just such a fantastic model, and it's like you're saying, it's really enjoyable, and it's able, like, say for you, like, it's a great story, that you were in a situation where your back was up against the wall, and the pandemic took you out, or had a chance to, and when you used resources, you were resourceful and set it up, and then it's like you're saying, it saved you, it supported you, and that's what I think is the I think that's why it's important, and that's why I think people more it'd be good to see more people kind of get in, and it seems to be it's taking off, but I still think more could do it. I think the people should kind of factor it in going forward, because it just has some security as well.
No, I mean, look, to this it's March the 1st. Today my rent would have been covered plus more just from that account. Do you know what I mean? And that is incredible. That is as simple as that. Obviously, I'm not going to tell you how much it is, but my rent could be 45 quid. You don't know. But
I was literally just looking at like what are the biggest earners a month as well, and there are people here that like you to sign up to their Patreon, you have to pay like a grand a month to like subscribe to their patrons or whatever. I don't know, like quite, if you've got a tier that is like a grand a month, you better be providing some good content. But
some good, yeah. Is it TC with one dub?
Yeah, maybe just one dub, and that'll be it.
That's it.
But no, man, it's interesting to sort of see, and interesting to hear your thoughts on it, and hear what you've kind of done, and even that was only in November. We're in only just about to be in March, or no, we are in March today. So you've only been going what 3-4 months, like if that, and you're already kind of like So if we're having this interview this time next year, we'll have a check in and see how you're doing.
See how it's getting on. I tell you what, the one thing, when people go back and people have got access to clubs, and all of this money that they're spending on their Patreon needs to be spent on their festival tickets. We'll see how many we've got. See if that number goes up or down, depending on whether
we see, I'm factoring that into my Patreon, actually. So if you go sign up to the Overview Music Patreon, which you can go do right now, we are actually going to be giving away like guest lists. So depending on what tier you're on, like you will be able to get guest list or reduced amount on tickets towards overview events. So we want to kind of, keep it going. It will be interesting to see what does happen, but I think it will still remain. I think that this is something to stay now. I was talking to, I did like a little thing with Bilane last night. I think it was last night. He was on doing like a little interview thing with a few people, and he was talking about, it's quite interesting that there has never been a more like digitized year than 2020 in terms of like we're all stuck in our houses, we've all just been on our computers, and the world has changed now, like really has changed. And I don't think, there will be some going back to normality, but I think that some of the things that have obviously come out of this year are here to stay now, such as Patreon, such as Discord, I think as well.
Discord's brilliant.
Yeah, we're doing it live, live on Discord right now. And that for me has revolutionized interacting with people, and and like you're saying, like between you and your fans, now get to have access to you. I mean, it's not quite that kind of like, sounds a bit creepy. It sounds a little bit creepy, or like you're trying to monetize it or whatever. I mean, it's not quite like that, but that's an incredible thing. You think like, people never had that before. You couldn't just log on to Patreon, or log on to Discord, and like just start talking. Do you know what I mean? And just chatting to people like, like anyone else. Like there's always been historically quite a wall between like artists and fans, and the line is, that is now dissipating completely.
Yeah, I tell you what though, but as an artist, when you've got particular things coming out and bigger things start happening, and you do things like this, you get attention in your inbox, whether it's from people saying big ups and liking things like that, or whether it's, you often also get a lot of people that then think that there's an appropriate window to send you music for feedback. So I don't really think that there's no problem with sending, and I always think people should do that, because there's times that I've sent my music to bigger artists like Filth when I was really young in the game, got feedback and made me feel a lot better, and really helped me, and is now someone that I work with and speak to a lot because of that relationship. So always do it. But with things like Patreon, if that said artist is offering a feedback session, or they're offering a feedback track through their Discord or whatever it is, that's your time to do that, because I don't have time to listen to 40-50 tunes a week, just being honest. Or like when you start getting sent loads, and people send you one and you listen to one, and then you get another 10, and it was like, now I've done something nice for someone to give some feedback to help them out, and then you lose that time. So for me as an artist, to dedicate that time on Patreon is brilliant, because now I know that every Thursday between 8 and, I say 9 o'clock, but we often go on till 10 chatting shit. we can listen to everyone's tunes. You'll get my opinion, my constructive feedback, and you'll get other people within the Discord's feedback as well. There's other artists and there's other label people in the Discord from time to time, and some of my patrons have been signed during my feedback sessions by other label managers and stuff like that. Cool. So just through that kind of sort of relationship and dedicating that time, it's concentrated. And I've got the time to do it, and so does everyone else. Kind of reaps rewards from that. So I find that the Discord and the Patreon together really help with those kind of things and keeping them separate. And then, like you say, as a consumer or as a kind of someone who wants to learn, you've got access. If I had access to Alex Perez when I was 16, things would have been different. Like there's no other way you can put that. I would have given him £50 a month, £60 a month to watch the tutorials, the videos, whatever. I would have given him everything that I had. So to have that with, and there's so many more producers in the scene that you look up to now, because there's top tier producers that aren't quite considered top tier producers yet because they've not been around for so long, but their production quality is just as good, and you can learn from those people and you can get direct access to them. And get their samples and
it's gonna be. I tell you what, it's gonna be interesting to see, like, what the next stage of the evolution is of a producer or the producers, like you're saying, about what people now have access to and the knowledge that is there and the ability to learn. I mean, it's already changing. I think it is already changing.
There's definitely quicker route to, using yet again another sales term, route to market, because literally, if you've in certain scenes and other scenes, if you fit an image, they'll push you. You don't even necessarily have to be any good, in the eyes of like technicalities, a lot more in other scenes than in drum and bass. But now you can learn in 2 years how to be a really good producer because you've got access to a lot of these high quality samples. Using Vengeance packs for my whole life was not the one. But then, being able to go and get really good quality samples that have come direct from, for instance, a Vision Recordings artist tune from their label pay. It's crazy. You've got like a kick drum that's actually from a Nickby tune. You're like, yeah, this works. And then as long as you can bring everything else up to that quality, that it's releasable. And to have access to that and to the information that they, some people took 4 or 5 years to learn is mental. So like I say, like you could learn in a much shorter period. Like Mike Val, for instance, is a massive example of that because he learned how to do so much more technical design stuff than I did, and I've been produced nearly twice as long as him because of his access and the way that he learned. No. I mean, it's interesting, and seeing, because I've had I do know a few older guys that have kind of sort of said this stuff and sort of saying like, oh, how long it took me to learn this, or and then now that the kids coming through, it's just kind of all there. Maybe there's a little bit of resentment. I mean, I don't know, like from some people in that kind of like, because it is just a different world now. And but you've got to move with the times. As technology improves, everyone else gets access to it. It's just like, I don't know. Everyone's got a studio in their room now. Because you can get monitors that are this big and they're cheap and affordable and they're this and they're that, and lots of people have also got loads of other strange non-music related stuff in their house, and all of these people that are we call them the boomers that have those opinions or whatever.
Controversial. It's a hot take. We've got a hot take right now. Warning! It's a warning. It's a hot take.
Warning. No, I don't. Well,
none of the views here are shared by Overview. I'm just gonna
how else would you kind of quote those people with that opinions that have got negative opinions because of technology? I don't know what you'd call that term. It's often quote unquote called a boomer. Yeah, exactly. No. That's what I'm saying. But they've often got an Apple Watch on and stuff like that, and you're like, yeah, right, nice one, mate. Oh, I hate the fact that everyone can DJ and they use the sync button now. What a bunch of knobs. But I can also answer my phone on my fucking watch. It's like, come on, man. Like, you want convenience everywhere else, but not when it kind of is
works against you. I guess because that's that is the thing, isn't it? Like you're saying, if you're not keeping up with it and you're not kind of innovating and keeping up with the changes and what is going on with the times, that people are just going to move past you. You know, if you know, because
tech's there, use it. People look better when they use tech because it's there to make you look better. So use it. There's like things like, you know, there's a controversial thing over the sync button, but have you ever played at the Black Swan, where you've got like 7 different versions of the tune coming at you from all these different angles, and you don't know which one's actually going on, and you're just like, I can't hear it, and you can see it visually, and sometimes cue points aren't exactly done perfectly, and you can fuck that up, and it's not because I'm a bad DJ, it's because it's too loud and you can't cope with those things. So these tools, and they're there for certain reasons. I'm not someone who's ever used it before, I don't even know how to, but I'm not saying that I wouldn't. If I needed to in those situations, I'd learn how to and do it in that. So I don't know. It's just really interesting, you know, type of thing
it's interesting to see it
to think about.
Yeah, and it's, you know, and it is really interesting now seeing the, you know, this next generation coming through, and you know the level that they are, you know, capable of, you know, and the access. And I think there will be like a, you know, I think we've going through we've kind of gone through one kind of revolution, if you want to say that, and then I think you know what Patreon and this, what people are now having access. So I think maybe give it, you know, another year, you know, two or 3 years, maybe we're gonna like have another wave. I mean, it may even come quicker than that, you know, come through of, you know, of a lot of producers, you know, and the levels being pushed up again. The
interesting thing, I think the labels are going to change as well.
Oh, here we go. Go on. Hit me up. What do I need to worry about?
You need to take everyone that's 16 and making drum and bass.
I'm not signing anyone unless you're below the age of 16.
Under 16.
Under 16s only.
That sounds really wrong.
That sounds really wrong, but yeah.
You can only come to the studio if you're under 16. Right, so no, I just think that I don't know. I just think that maybe some of the newer, younger labels, because everyone's becoming more and more self-sufficient, I think that what they'll do is do it themselves, because labels have got their artists. There's too many artists that are trying to get signed by said labels anyway, that they're turning away producers that are getting signed by other massive top-tier labels. So there's got to be a break at some point, and you can't just like, I don't know. And there's no, you know, it depends. Like I said, you know, I've got a little brother who's writing tunes and doing things now, and it's really interesting watching him make loads of mistakes.
I think you know, touched on an interesting point, because it is something that, you know, I obviously being you know, a label myself, and have sort of looked at, because I think we went through like this kind of glut of, you know, a real kind of, I think they sort of, it goes in waves again, in a way. Like you had between like 2017 and 18, probably, you know, there was this real glut of, you know, you had like 1985, Meth Lab, Guidance, North Quarter, Sofa Sound, Overview, Onyx Recordings, you know, a lot of what have gone on to now, you know, really shape the scene, all came through at a similar time. And it's kind of like that we haven't quite seen, you know, there were some out there, you know, I'm not going to say, you know, there wasn't, but not in that way of, you know, and especially artists like that, you know, doing this self-sufficient. But it will be interesting to see what the next wave is. And like you're saying, I mean, maybe it will be like, you know, the future will be label-less, or labels will become being less relevant, because people are just artists will just self-release it themselves. And, you know, Spotify, I think Spotify, you know, are potentially moving in that direction as well. Like, you know, Spotify will be the fucking label. Like, you won't even like, you know,
that's it.
You know,
and everyone will hate it.
I am scared of that, like in some respects, because it will just be like, well, why does someone need to release with a label when they can just put it on Spotify and Spotify does it? Do you know what I mean, or whatever?
But right. So I was talking to my mum, right, and she phoned me to buy it because she wanted to buy the EP, and I was like, right,
big up, mummy creatures.
Big up, mum.
Buy another copy as well. Buy another copy. Buy 3. There we go.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. No, I've got. I'm one of 7 boys, aren't I? I've got 6 brothers, so I think, you know, if we can get them to buy it, and we're all right. But some of them are like 2, so
we'll buy it out there. Buy
to get a 2-year-old to cough up.
Well, these kids these days with their technology, you never know.
That's it. Yeah, you can probably write better tunes than me as well. But yeah, I don't know. I kind of forgot what we were talking about.
No, sorry. We're saying about record labels and obviously what the future's going to look like.
Yes.
With
Sorry.
access.
Yeah, that's it. So because of the way that everything's going self-sufficient, dub packs, Patreon, all of this stuff, I am really interested to see how things go. Because for me, like working with labels has always been because I want to work with that label. Like it's always been a dream of mine, or I love what they're doing and I want to do this, and all of that kind of stuff. Jesse's telling me to plug the event, by the way. So
we have already plugged it. We can plug it one more time. Bosch, go to Bosch 00.
He's taking me off topic again.
Labels.
No, I'm coming back to it. But yeah, so because people are starting to actually see a bit of cash, like as a producer, I never really saw any money, and it doesn't matter who you're releasing with, what label it is, you don't really see that much come back from it. But because unless
it's overview, obviously. Unless
it's overview, because obviously they just pay you in gold. But if you go but if you look at it, right, so if people don't necessarily understand how distribution works, you've kind of got an artist versus label split, whatever that works out as, right? But before we even get anything, we've got to pay half of it away to the distribution, basically, or probably 45% if you're with a nice distribution company. Now, I don't really know what they do for that anymore, because we were talking about this the other day. When they used to distribute vinyl, they'd still take the same percentage of cut, and they had to get it cut. So it doesn't make any sense how, but whatever, that's another point. But so you lose half of it to the distributor, and then you're then splitting it up with the label, and if you've got collabs, then you're splitting up with them. And actually, you probably only get about somewhere between 7 and 20% of your own tune in the overall earnings after everything's been covered. Now, it's not being a knob, it's just kind of the way it works, and it's the way it works in every industry. But when you look at revenue direct from a dub pack, Bandcamp might take 5% or whatever. But if you do it all on Bandcamp Friday and do 50% of that, then you've got a nice big chunk that comes directly to you. And instead of getting 20p out of the pound, you're getting the full pound or 95p of it. And it just starts to become a completely different game.
Yeah.
So if people want to actually 100% of the time be music producers and DJs, and you want that to be your career, you've kind of got to look at some way of self-releasing so you can actually generate the revenue. Because realistically, it takes a long time to even hit a mark where you'd earn enough money to survive anyway. But
especially off, like you said, especially off of paid releases, the usual method. I mean, it's
it's difficult.
It is.
Really it is difficult. And streaming, as many streams as you want, man. It doesn't matter. You don't get anything out of it. I've had 150,000 streams on one of my tunes. I got 100 quid. I was like, what?
Yeah.
It's crazy. I expected $1,000 at least. And I got literally 90 odd quid. It was just like, are you joking? I'm going to phone up the guy now. But
like you're saying, it is, there is this change in the air at the moment, and with the way that the middleman's being taken away, and you don't need to use those same routes. So how that is going to look in the future, there maybe labels will just be like, we're just going to just run on our website and on Patreon or whatever, and that's it, and we can survive that way, or an artist, I think I think there's still some value in it these days. I think there is some still, but
that's the other side to it.
But
there's a lot of value in a label.
Yeah, no, again, depending on what label you work with, I think obviously some are going to put have a better platform and put a lot more effort. That for me is what's so important as a record label, and my role is to really put that same amount of effort in that has been put into the music, and really do my utmost to use my time and the value of that, and we obviously got a reasonable platform to do that with. But I don't know, maybe who knows, maybe this is maybe overview, we could be one of the last labels before it all changes. I don't know. I mean, that's a scary thought, but
no, it's not. And the reason is because there's too much money in the labels You've got, there's
yeah.
no. When you so okay, fine.
It can be
not
to a degree, but
some of the majors, which aren't they're a drum and bass label, but they're
owned by Sony or Warner.
Owned by and your music gets pulled when you're on YouTube because it's from their label.
If anyone from Sony is out there and wants to talk about buying the label,
hit Pete up.
Honestly, I'd say about 3 million. I think that's a fair price.
Yeah, or £3 million worth of Bitcoin, or Ethereum.
3 million Ugandan dollars.
Yeah, that's it. And a pigeon in the bank account.
Oh wow, pigeon.
No, just back to that point. I think without labels, you can't really establish yourself in the scene enough to self-suffice. So it's a circle that happens, and you've seen it time and time again, where the artists come all the way up. They come all the way up through. Look at all the artists on Shogun have now, like from the Shogun I know, all run their own label now. Icicle, Entropy runs Entropy, Alex Perez, and the list goes on. But that was the route. It was work, earn your stripes, become the guy, then you can have a label. And then people want to that make your sound can come to your label, and we'll do it that way. But now it's such a split thing. You've got I've had a release on Cause for Concern, for fuck's sake. What? That doesn't make any sense, but it does. So
it happened. Some weird things have happened. Weird things have happened these last few years.
Yeah, exactly.
No,
it's
interesting. Honestly, it's a really interesting discussion to have, and it's only it's things to be kind of mindful of, and for me, for overview, I mean, I think that we are, obviously a little bit of this kind of the modern era of how you communicate to an audience and how you run a record label. It is very different to what has become. I mean, I guess it's difficult sometimes to see it on the inside, but obviously hearing it from people, and a big thing is to obviously keep up with innovation and keep up with the times and keep up with the scene, and something I take I take very I think it's very important, and I take very seriously. Obviously we've kind of, I think it's just that thing of as well. I think when you're obviously you're coming through in the scene, and you're the you're chasing that dream, and you don't I didn't I had to make this work. I didn't have a plan B. I didn't and that can be the same for some people. If you and that's maybe where you then end up once you make it, and once you've got this reliance, and it becomes a bit kind of it becomes a bit safe and a bit easier. You're not worrying so much where if you're going to be able to afford your rent or whatever. You haven't got that pressure to want to keep on innovating and staying on top of things. And at the moment we are, and that's what I think I've just got to be kind of mindful of. And maybe it goes the same for being a producer as well. Is not getting too comfortable, and keeping up with the kind of innovations and or you never know where it could go.
You've got it. But I think as an artist, you can look at labels in a number of different lights, but the two main ones are, you've got someone that sees a label as their mum, and they basically sign up with them. Every tune that they ever release goes to that label first of all, and then if they don't want it, all right, give it to Uncle Larry, which is his mate's label or whatever, Or you've got people that literally see labels as scout
Uncle
badges.
Larry Recordings.
Uncle Larry Recordings. But yes, you've got the flip side where people almost see them as their scout badges, and it's just to go in their email chain just to say that I've released with X label, and then they use it to piggyback off to get gigs and stuff like that.
Which one are you?
I'm in the middle.
Sometimes I go to Uncle Larry. Sometimes I stay with Mum. It just it depends on how I'm feeling.
But it's a weird analogy, but I think if you understand what I mean, it's people but I guess more of a scout badge collector to begin with, because that was my way of realizing I was getting noticed. It was work with this label, that label, boom, 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 boom. Whereas I'm at a situation now, I want to build a family, and I want to work with I'm really running with this analogy, but kind of work with a few people that are couple of labels, 2, 3, 4 max, and then an EP a year with each one, and start slowing down my output and that sort of stuff.
Zero said labels are notches on the bedpost. But it's interesting you say that, because I do know a few guys. Again, that's the thing. I always do wonder, like, what is the right way to do it? Because you do have, like, some of these guys come through and they're very much like, I'm not going to release with anyone unless it is of a certain caliber, and then if I do, it's only going to be with like 1 or 2 labels, and that's how I'm going to start, and I'm going to hold my bar onto that. Or you have obviously the route, which I think obviously you would arguably say you've kind of taken, where you have played the field, and gone and released with a few different people. I mean, what would you say? I mean, how has your experience been with that? I mean, would you advise producers to take that same route, or do you think it's dependent? I mean, what would you say?
It's interesting. Yeah,
I don't know. I've not asked that question so directly, I don't think, on the podcast before.
Yeah, no, but it's a good question.
Yeah.
But I think honestly, because of the exclusivity contract that I had, which was basically my first load of releases with the deal, and I couldn't release anywhere else.
Which label was this?
I was Infidelity Records.
Okay.
So as Creatures, when there was the 3 of us, it was they were like a sub-label of Runtings. They had the same label office and that sort of stuff. It was part of that family. So basically, we become exclusive to them, and that literally, no fault of anybody who put the contract together or anything like that, purely our own fault as Creatures, as people who couldn't deal with the contract that we'd agreed to, which is stupid. But it tore us apart. So as a result of that, I kind of was really against only working with one label. So I had my own reservations when I went to start working with other labels. So it was like, oh, no, I'm not getting tied down with anyone. That's not happening. I'm going to work with whoever I want, and the people that I want to. It was more that there needs to be this caliber. That's the lowest that'll go, basically. Which I don't know, which is a load of bollocks. But you make it up in your head. Off of
you have a label. It's like a ranking chart. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it is, and I could probably go through it, but
let's not go through it. We don't want to get cancelled.
No, don't get cancelled. So like you kind of go through that, and then I just started working with that. And my experience with it is that some label managers are brilliant, some of them are knobs, some of them are really exciting to work with, and they're just as excited to work with you. And some of them are just trying to fill their quota for the amount of tunes they need to put out, and you don't want to work with those people. So I'd say the best thing that I find now is anyone that I release with, try and speak to them personally on the phone, or get them on a Teams call or a Zoom chat or something, and actually find out who they are. Because I don't like working with people that I don't like. Basically, I've got to that state. But I'm quite privileged to do that, because you can't just start turning people down like, oh, can I phone you? Like my first ever tune that I'm going to release ever on a label. Can I phone you and sound out what you're like? Like, no.
You don't want to be that upfront about it, but
no, obviously not. But
I think it's a solid. I think it's very. I think it is really important, because again, you don't know. I mean, you're never to say that you can be fully sure, but you can be more sure with kind of like sounding people out, and I think you can get a sense of what someone's like, or if there's red flags starting to appear with
if there's ever more than one red flag, you need to rethink, because one's enough to go two's enough to go no. It's as simple as that. And with stuff like that, and then when you start digging, you'll find out a few more and stuff like that if they're coming apparent immediately, whatever they are.
So you wouldn't change anything that you've done? You wouldn't go at it from a different perspective? Would you say that there is a right or wrong way, or do you think it is just personal preference, or depending on what you want to do? Do you look at other people that have done that and go, oh, I wish I'd have done that. I wish I'd have just started at label X that is in the top tier, and then... No,
I don't think so. And I think the reason is because, that whole, when you start at the bottom and you get there, you appreciate it. If you drop your first tune on, like, even if I drop my first tune, this is my first load of tunes now at number 2 in the charts, I tell you what, my head would be out here. I'd be phoning, telling people to move out of the way. Do you know who I am? But because I've, had to go through all of the struggle to get there, and I've DJ'd to an empty club at Room 2 hundreds of times, and just like I've played the jump up gigs, and had arguments with MCs, but there's no one in the room, bro. Shut up. He's like, yeah, but I'm on your set. It's like, oh, I'll just unplug your mic then, and then like try and get jumped in the backyard by a bunch of jump up MCs or whatever, and it's just like this is fantastic.
That's the real drum and bass lifestyle.
That's that tier doesn't exist anymore by the looks of things. From lockdown, a lot of us that had to do that side of things are going to get some decent gigs out of this, which is brilliant. Seeing some of the lineups that are being released, there's some people that are playing some pretty hefty festivals for their first gigs, either ever or back or whatever. So it looks great.
Yeah. I think Jarafield. I think she's going to be like. I think her first gig is like Hospitality in the Woods. I don't think she's ever done another. She's not going to be playing that. She's not going to be playing those Room 2 sets.
No, that's it. Yeah. Tell you what, if you want to come and do a dingy Room 2 to no one apart from the person throwing up in the corner who needed help, then give us a shout. I can sort that out for you.
I might just book a night and make sure no one turns up, just so someone has the experience of DJing to an empty room. So you know what it feels like. You know what it feels like to have your self-worth completely questioned.
Yeah, literally as well,
Yeah,
and you're trying so hard to mix perfectly, and you're like, why?
At least I could just stop playing right now, and it wouldn't make any difference.
Yeah, the security guards are enjoying it.
Yeah. Oh dear. Although I'd rather have that than have nothing at all. I'd rather have that than nothing at all.
No, it's a good place to start. It's great fun. And doing it in Bristol, it very quickly become a couple of hundred people. And a lot of it, if you play at the right party at the right time, you might play in front of that anyway. The free party scene around here. I don't know what it's like in Brighton. We go out to many raves.
I've not been a big free party geezer. I mean, we did have. I think we still do have a reasonable scene. There are a few sound systems and stuff from it, but I think the police are quite they're quite militant around here. There's not a lot of space that you can just like disappear off and do that kind of thing, and I think they do, but it crops up. It's not been my it wasn't my route into the scene at least, and I've always just been kind of club kind of person. I've done a few, but
did you have a Project X type house party? Isn't that where you come from?
I did, yeah. My first event was a house party, which was essentially a free party rave in a house, and it went terribly wrong. The whole house got destroyed. So that wasn't my best. My first experience of that wasn't like, I've seen what can happen when you have people in an establishment with no rules and no regulation, and how out of control that can get. But yeah.
Yeah. No, it was my sort of way into the scene, really. It's where I started, was playing down Black Steps in Barford when I was about 13, sneaking off to free parties.
But I was going to say, you are like a proper West Country. You're born and bred in Bristol. You're Cornish.
Yeah, mate. Truro, innit?
Truro, really?
Yeah.
Okay, again, this is more Harvey Creature's facts that I didn't know.
Yeah, no, I moved from Cornwall when I was about 4 or 5, so I've been Bath, Bristol area my whole life, but I've only been in Bristol since I come back from Essex, so about 3 years.
Well, you've only been back in Bristol for 3 years.
Yeah, right. Before that, I didn't actually live in Bristol. I was in Bath.
Right. Okay. But not far away at least.
No, but I'm actually from really I went to school next to Dam out near Melksham and Corsham and those sort of areas. Devizes.
Big up the Melksham.
Yeah, big up the Melksham crew.
It's a small world. It's a small scene in that respect.
Yeah.
And Bristol's going all right. You enjoying Bristol?
Yeah, I love it. It's brilliant. My life's been, apart from last year, where lockdown and a couple of things happened, I don't think I've ever really said I've not been happy, which is amazing. So for me, my life since I got to Bristol has been everything that I've ever wished for is around me, mate. I love my life. So
yeah. Well, mate, that's good. That's amazing to hear. I mean, and I think obviously being in an environment like that, I can imagine kind of pushing you further and pushing you on, and having just that network there.
I get more gigs in London.
You get more.
Yeah, I don't like my style down here. It's all like.
You need to make some foghorn rollers, mate. That's what you need to do.
I think we tried, didn't we? With who knows, but
maybe you'll get some more bookings in Bristol then.
Maybe, yeah.
That'll be what it is.
But most I get a lot in London, more so than Bristol. I just think that they've got a bit more of the minimal kind of gang up there. But
right, that's interesting.
Changing now. I was only really starting to properly get into my gigs really before we got locked down. It's not my first year of properly gigging.
Right. Yeah.
And I think, the last set I played in between Brian G and Fabio. So, I was doing all right. Yeah, exactly. So,
well, I guess that's it. Obviously the kind of the success that you're, obviously having, you're really, really established yourself and put your name out there as a real, well, I mean, been one to watch. You've kind of even, I think, moved on from that now. And the rewards, you're going to see them undoubtedly, now with this kind of, with stuff finally coming back and,
let's go.
Let's go.
Yeah. I've never left the country either, mate. I'm gagging.
So if anyone wants to book Harvey Creatures for an international show, he is taking bookings right now.
Yeah, I am. Yeah. I'll swim if I have to.
I'll get a rubber dinghy. I'll get a dinghy over.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Paddle it to France.
Yeah, document the whole thing and then sell it to Netflix.
Yeah, no, I could see that working. All right, well, look, man, I think I might well just about sort of wrap it up there. I think we've kind of like spoken. We've just about spoken about quite a bit. Is there anything else you'd like to say, or anything else you'd like to big up, or anything to end the show on?
Just big up to everyone buying the EP, man. I can't believe it's at number 2. It's just absolutely incredible. So, just shout out all of you lot that are buying the EP and supporting it and playing it and doing that. And obviously all of the Patreons. Shout out the gang.
There you go. So if you can, do go pick up a copy of the Creatures Gonzo Transmission EP. Do also go sign up to Creatures' Patreon. I have popped a link into the chat. And also for Jesse, come to the Bosch event, which is going to be happening on May the 3rd, bank holiday. Creatures and 00% Bosch. I'm going to be there, so if that's going to sell it to people even more. I mean, that may put everyone off now. They'll be like, "Oh fuck, I was going to go, but he's that idiot's going to be there." I'm definitely not going. But no, I look forward to that, and obviously, we'll be able to obviously hang out and hopefully have like a little bit of a, have a proper catch up in real life, which will be good. And
yeah, man.
I'm enjoying to continue to see your rise in the scene and see what's coming next. Have you got anything coming next that you can tell us about, or any super secret just to finish us off?
Yeah, I kind of briefly mentioned I've got an EP coming with Intrigue, which is obviously Liquid, so it's a bit different from me, but that'll be coming soon. Other than that, I've done a big, I love it. I say a big remix. It's a real big remix for me. But I've remixed one of Filth's tunes called Addiction. It's one of my favourite tunes from like him from a little while ago.
Cool.
So that's going to be coming out sometime soon. And yeah. There's obviously more music and stuff. There's a tune with Ben Verse coming out on Rebel Music, which I'm really enjoy writing, and another big project there. But
you probably got the next Dub Wars coming back round again soon.
Oh yeah.
So
we literally had the initial conversation today. So we were looking at the dates basically. So I'm trying to work out who we want in Dub Wars. Ooh. So if anyone watching this thinks they've got the minerals,
got the corners,
got the kahoonies, then drop me a message. But yeah, obviously yeah, going to be hitting a few people up shortly about that stuff and getting that going. I think I probably shouldn't be saying this, Ben.
Ben's gonna be in your inbox now. Why are you telling everyone?
yeah, exactly.
Top secret.
He's like, you better curate a lineup now.
yeah, you're doing it all. You're doing it all. Well, if I have a think, if I can think of anyone, or I could put it into a couple of guys, maybe speak to anybody that might be interested. But yeah, it all sounds really, really exciting. And mate, honestly, just so happy for you, and so gassed at how well the EP is doing. So massive thank you for that EP, man.
Thank you for the opportunity. I know it was a long process, but we got there in the end. I've been sending you tunes for like 2 years. Like, do you like that one? You're like, yeah. It's just like, no, then you're not having it.
We got there. That's important. It's worked out for the best.
100%. Like I said, right time. So it's all good. But thanks for having me on, mate. And
And thank you to everyone that has been watching. As said, do go buy the EP. I'm not going to say anything else anymore. I'm going to be back again very soon, I'm sure, as live streaming seems to be my life at the moment. So yeah, cheers. Thank you very much, Harvey, for coming on. Big up to everyone for today's show.
Big ups, guys.
Big up.